One of the issues that we see today is so many people debate with emotion rather than using facts, or they cherry pick certain arguments that they hear from their news source without proper context. And their entire opinion is based upon talking points rather than facts or reality. Many people watch Undisputed and First Take. Now, sometimes those shows have interesting conversations. However, what you've got to realize, those shows are entertainment. The whole goal of those shows is to get viewers, to watch commercials, and to create revenue for their corporation, which is Disney, and Fox, which is also branches of it are now owned by Disney. If you really want to educate yourself, you must do your own research. That's why so many people take one extreme side. They either overrate LeBron and say he is the greatest of all time, or they underrate LeBron and say, yeah, he might be top 10. But they never factor in what other players are between Magic, Kareem, Bird, and others. They just like to say LeBron's the greatest of all time or Jordan's the greatest of all time without actually looking into facts to back up their argument. What I try to do is properly rate LeBron. I have Jordan as the greatest of all time. I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the second. I have Magic third. I have LeBron fourth, Larry Bird fifth. It really does a disservice when you compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan. I mean, you're comparing him to someone who is as close to spotless as you can be. In my opinion, his career trajectory is more like Wilt Chamberlain's. Wilt Chamberlain is an all-time great. Wilt Chamberlain is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Wilt Chamberlain has many records that still stand today. However, he only has 2 titles. LeBron James, when it's all said and done, if he continues to play at the same level or near the same level, he will end up having the all-time scoring record. He'll be top 5 in rebounds, top 5 in assists. He'll have many records. However, in the championship game, in the NBA Finals, there were many times where LeBron came up short, just like Wilt Chamberlain did. His record is 4-6 in the finals. Let me explain why I have my list like I have it. And then I will properly put LeBron James' legacy into context. The difference with me, though, is that I'm open-minded. If LeBron is able to win a championship, produce around the same level, beat Phoenix Suns, beat the Warriors, beat some of the top teams in the East, maybe the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George, and then he is able to defeat a team like Brooklyn if they get their shit together, the Milwaukee Bucks, the 76ers in the finals. In my opinion, he will surpass Magic Johnson. The reason I have him over Larry Bird is simply longevity. Larry Bird did not, in the 80s, have the same nutrition plans, the same workout routines. LeBron spends $1 million on his body. Smart man, his body is his commodity. Therefore, he needs to be in the best shape. Larry Bird actually hurt his back digging a grave for his father. So I have LeBron over him simply based on longevity. And if he's able to win a title, he will surpass Magic. The reason I have him below Magic is because he lost to inferior teams in the finals. I totally cancel out 2007. There's no way in hell LeBron was going to beat the San Antonio Spurs. I say you don't count that. However, in 2011, LeBron had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. He lost to the Mavericks, whose second best player in the series was Jason Terry. Chris Bosh, LeBron, and Dwayne Wade are all going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. Dirk is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The only other player who is going to make the Hall of Fame played less than 20 minutes a game and averaged 7 points a game. That was Jason Kidd. See, LeBron fans like to say, Jason Kidd was on that team. But that's like saying Gary Payton was on the Heat in 2006 when Gary Payton was old and a shell of his former self. You have to look into the ages. And Jason Kidd was not even the third leading scorer in that series for the Mavericks. Essentially, LeBron James, with two other first ballot Hall of Famers, lost to Dirk and a bunch of role players and an old Jason Kidd. Give the Mavericks credit, though. They overperformed. Sean Marion, Jason Terry, J.J. Barea, Tyson Chandler. All those players are going to be in the Hall of Very Good. However, none of them are even considered as good as Chris Bosh, who was the third star on the Heat. LeBron, individually, in those finals, only averaged 17 points a game, which meant he was the third leading scorer on his own team. You can't be the greatest of all time and underperform that bad on the biggest stage. You just can't. Dwayne Wade, you like to hear from a lot of LeBron fans too. Oh, Dwayne Wade was not in his prime. Dwayne Wade averaged 26 points a game. In game 2, he either scored 32 or 34. I can't remember which one. Chris Bosh averaged 19 a game. In no game at all during those finals did LeBron lead the team in scoring. Even his own team. And you're telling me this guy is the GOAT, the greatest to ever do it. The second time that I think LeBron lost to an inferior opponent was the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs were old at that time. Tim Duncan, Boris Diaw, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Definitely Tony Parker was definitely a shell of his former self at that point. When he had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, he underperformed. The reason I have Kareem over LeBron is because Kareem was able to win a championship in the city that drafted him originally. He didn't have to leap teams and team up with a bunch of superstars in order to win a chip. Now, he did end up leaving Milwaukee, who really only had Oscar Robertson. Bob Dandridge is also a Hall of Famer, but I wouldn't consider him one of the top 50 greatest players of all time. And then he joined the Lakers, where he won 5 championships. LeBron only has 4. And one of those championships was against the Miami Heat when Bam Adebayo was hurt. All they really had was Jimmy Butler. That was a Mickey Mouse ring, but I'm still going to count it. I'm going to be intellectually honest. Kareem's championships came against the Celtics with Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson, Bill Walton, and the Bad Boy Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman. He beat better competition. Now, LeBron fans will say, what about the Warriors? Here's the problem, though. Steph Curry was banged up in those finals, and Draymond Green was suspended for the final game. They were without two of their leading scorers. But if you want to just discount that, up and down their roster, the Boston Celtics have at least 4, if not 5 Hall of Famers. The Bad Boy Pistons have 3 at the very minimum. Golden State might have had 3. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, maybe Draymond Green. I don't know if he'll get there or not. I think he will based upon his titles. The reason I have Michael Jordan over LeBron James, and I don't think LeBron James can ever surpass him, number one, he never had as many Hall of Famers as LeBron on his team in their primes. People like to point out, here's another argument you like to hear from LeBron fans. They listen to Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd. They don't really know what they're talking about. They just like to repeat talking points. Michael Jordan never made it out of the first round with Scottie Pippen. Okay. Well, who did he face in the first round? One of those teams was the Detroit Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Vinnie Johnson, Bill Laimbeer, multiple Hall of Famers, and multiple great role players. He also faced the Boston Celtics with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson. That was a super team. The year he lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, he was injured most of the season and came back with about 20 games left and led his team to the playoffs. But here's the thing, though. Let's say that was a bad loss. Okay. Well, how many points did Scottie Pippen average the first year that Michael Jordan got out of the first round? 7. So you're telling me the reason Michael Jordan got out of the first round, Scottie Pippen, who, in my opinion, is top 50 of all time. I think he's underrated by some. However, he was a rookie. He only averaged 7 points a game. And you're telling me he's the reason not LeBron, but Michael Jordan got out of the first round? Another argument you hear, if you're just going to base it upon championships, then Bill Russell is the GOAT. Now, Bill Russell, in my opinion, has to be in the top 10. However, when he played in the league, you only had 8 teams. And you only had 2 rounds until you got to the finals. Not to mention, Bill Russell had Hall of Famers all across his roster. He had John Havlicek, Bob Cousy, JoJo White. In his own right, John Havlicek won 3 other rings, even without Bill Russell. John Havlicek is very underrated as well. I would say him and Kobe's careers are pretty comparable. Both of them played with an all-time great team, and then when that player left or retired or departed, for whatever reason, they ended up winning 2 titles of their own. But at the same time, you have to put that into context. People just regurgitate that and repeat that in order to prove their point. Now, to properly rate LeBron James, you have to consider who he's played with. Kyrie Irving's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Kevin Love might get in there. I doubt it based upon his recent performances, but he's a borderline Hall of Famer. He played with Dwayne Wade, who is first ballot, and Chris Bosh, who is going to be first ballot. Wilt Chamberlain played with Gail Goodrich, who's a Hall of Famer, Jerry West, Hall of Famer, Elgin Baylor, Hall of Famer, and only won 2 titles. Wilt Chamberlain had all the records. LeBron is going to end up with all the records. But in the finals, on multiple occasions, Wilt underperformed. LeBron underperformed. People like to claim that LeBron James is a victim because of the teams he's faced. Here's the problem, though. Okay, let me preface. I respect LeBron doing what was best for him. These NBA teams are corporations. They're franchises. They're essentially companies. If you're working at Walmart and they're paying you $14 an hour, you might like the people there. You might like the management. But if across the street they build a restaurant and they're going to pay you $25 an hour, you're going to do what's best for you. Because at the end of the day, that company does not care about you. I respect LeBron for being the first player to join a team on his own terms. You didn't really have free agency until the early 2000s. If a player changed teams, like when Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen joined the Rockets, it was through a trade. Or super teams like the Lakers and the Celtics were built through the draft. LeBron was the first player to say, I'm going to do what is best for me. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. I respect that. I genuinely do. That is when players became essentially free to move. They took away power from the general managers and the owners and gave it to the players. You see that trickling down to college as well through the NIL, through the transfer portal, but I digress. At the same time, LeBron James caused a massive exit from superstars. Kevin Durant stated in an interview that he would have not joined Golden State if LeBron didn't join the Heat. You had Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant all join the Nets. Never in history has there ever been players that have done that. If it wasn't for Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors, LeBron would have had at least one or two more rings. So LeBron, on the one hand, did something I think bold that I respect. However, the repercussions that he had to face also cost him in the end. To end this video, LeBron James is an all-time great. Love him, hate him, indifferent. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he is the best player since Michael Jordan. He's had the most longevity in his career out of any superstar. He still has a chance to move up on the list. But you got to properly rate him. When you say he is the GOAT, then you are disrespecting him. And last thing, I have no problem with LeBron saying he's the GOAT. Every player thinks they're the GOAT. Wilt Chamberlain thought he was the GOAT. Bill Russell thinks he's the GOAT. Kobe probably thought he was the GOAT. I have no issue at all with LeBron thinking he is the GOAT. In order to be great at something, you have to be a bit delusional, have delusions of grandeur. Any great general, General Patton, any great president, any great leader, any great superstar, you have to be a little bit cocky. So I have no problem with LeBron saying that. But when you have people like Nick Wright who cherry pick facts, when you have people like Shannon Sharp who just totally are infatuated with LeBron, it makes people hate LeBron because they don't properly rate him and they try to downplay everything Jordan, Magic, and Bird did. If they would just say LeBron is definitely top 5 and they would properly rate him like I do, it would cause debates to be more substantive. But those are my thoughts.